Hi, today we're going to talk about narrative tenses. These are the tenses that we use in a narrative, as in a story. There are four of them, and they are the past tenses. There's the past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. Let's look at each of these in turn. We'll start with the past simple. That is basically using the second form of the verb. For example, I went to the shop this morning. I didn't go to work yesterday. Did you work from home this week? We use the past simple for completed actions in the past. We know when the action happened, or we're referring to a time period in the past. The past continuous takes the past of the verb to be, was, or were, and adds the main verb with ing. For example, I was watching TV at 10 o'clock last night. He wasn't cooking dinner when the phone rang. What were you doing this morning? We use it for actions in progress at a specific time in the past. We can also use it for actions in progress that are interrupted by a short past action. So, for example, I was watching TV at 10 o'clock last night. I started watching TV before 10 o'clock and I finished after 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, the action was in progress. He wasn't cooking dinner when the phone rang. He wasn't in that process when the short action of the phone ringing happened. If we look on a timeline at an example, I was crossing the road when the minivan hit me. So I was crossing the road, it's a long action, it was in progress, it was interrupted by the minivan that hit me. If the minivan didn't hit me, the action would have continued. Moving on to past perfect, we form that with had plus the past participle. That's the third form of the verb. For example, when we got to the station, the train had already left. The teacher knew that the students hadn't done their homework. Did you realise that you had forgotten your wallet at home? We use the past perfect to refer to a completed past action that happened before another past action. For example, by the time we arrived at the station, the train had already left. The train left before we arrived at the station, as we can see on this timeline. The past perfect continuous takes had and been, and then we add the ing form of the main verb. For example, when I got to the shop, I saw people had been queuing for ages to get in. He had been teaching for 10 minutes when Teams crashed. How long had you been working there before you decided to leave? So for each of these past perfect continuous actions, the action was in progress for some time before another past action happened. Okay, so the action is in progress for some time before another past action. And we can usually see that with words like for or how long. On a timeline, here is an example. When I got to the shop, I saw people had been queuing for ages to get in. I got to the shop is a short past action. People queuing for some time before that action uses the past perfect continuous. Let's do some practice. Here is a short text, a true story about me. Read through the text and see if you can put the verbs into the right past tense. Pause here and think about it. When you're ready, press play to hear the answers. So, one day I got up early and took the underground to work. I exited the station and went around the corner. I looked both ways and then started to cross the road. All of these so far are in the past simple because at the start of the story we're saying a series of actions that happened that set the scene. When we talk about actions that happened one after the other in the past, we use the past simple. Moving on. While I was crossing the road, a minivan hit me. So I was in the process of crossing the road when the minivan hit me. That was the short action. Crossing the road is the longer action. I was in pain and I was taken to hospital. Was, we can't say I was being in pain because the verb to be is state verb. So we never use it in the continuous form. I was in pain and I was taken to hospital. The frustrating thing was that I had looked before crossing the road. So I looked before I crossed the road. Okay, I crossed the road is in the past. I had looked before that. So we use past perfect. And no cars were coming. At the time that I looked, there were no cars coming in the process. After 5 days in hospital, I went home. I was happy because here we can have two options. I hadn't eaten well because you're referring to the completed action of not eating for 5 days. Or you can say I hadn't been eating well when you're focusing on the process of the action. Either of these is fine. The food was so bad. It was, again, the verb to be, it was also nice to watch some TV. For the last 5 days, I had been reading. So in progress for some time before the action of going home. I couldn't walk, but it was good to be home. So the negative of can in the past is couldn't. Hope that's helped you. Thank you for watching.